G'day guys, I'd just like to thank everyone for coming. It means a lot to us. First thing, I'd just like to say that this is a controlled, confined space area. So we will allow you guys to come up to have a look at the product, the active infiltration and everything like that. But I please ask you to stand behind obviously the barricade. So we'll be doing demonstration and Ron will be talking to you guys about it. Thank you.
What we're doing is kind of unique in the environmental industry. I've been doing it for 30 years now. This is my 30th year. I started in Florida in the United States, and you had infiltration and all the problems with sewage manholes, and they had identified problems for 25, 30 years, engineering firms, and they studied and studied and studied, and like one engineer told me one day, he said, Ron, you got the first product that I've seen that's quick to do and is permanent, you know, and it's cost effective. You had a lot of people doing slip lining and insituform pipe and all that stuff, but you didn't have anybody that had anything permanent for manholes. I came up with this product so you could, back then you had Owens Corning fiberglass inserts. Can y'all hear me and all? All right, Owens fiberglass inserts that they would dig up the street and slide it down in there and try to fit it to the bottom and pour slurry mixed concrete around it, and it'd take 3 or 4 days to do a structure. And I thought, well, why would you mold something that big, some of these things 20, 30 feet deep, 10 meters deep, why would you mold that thing somewhere else and try to come there and put it in place? Why wouldn't you use that place as the mold? So that was what my idea was. Well, I'll take the structure itself and use it for a mold, and then I will pressurize and mold a fiberglass hull inside those old sewer systems. I gave free, when I first started, nobody in the industry gave more than a 1-year warranty, period, on any kind of rehab for manholes. So I started with a 5-year warranty. And I said, well, okay, if it can't last 5 years, I don't deserve to be able to do it. So I started. Once we passed 5 years, I went back and looked at the worst structures that had H2S gas and all kind of, you know, semis running up and down the road, cracking the manholes and all. No failure, none at all. So I went to a 10-year warranty. And so then once we passed 10 years, a few years later than that, I thought, well, I'll go back and look at still those old structures, which I had improved my system significantly over the 10 years, and got more patents. I have 97 U.S. patent claims granted on the product and the technology. So I went back and looked at the worst things I could find. I can't find a failure. And we'd pressure train them again, it'd hit them with a manhole hook or whatever, they'd ring like a tuning fork. So I thought, well, we're gonna go to 20 years on our warranty. And so that's what we did. And then 2 or 3 years ago, I said, well, we'd had some go through California earthquakes and all kind of stuff, and even if the hole crumbled, our structure didn't crumble, our material didn't. It was still fine, what people were telling us. So I thought, well, I'll tell you what, everybody on the earth that does any kind of warranty is a conditional warranty, you know. I'm gonna give an unconditional warranty. I don't care what goes wrong, you get a new liner. And so for 20 years, that's our structure, and it'll be our structure here in Australia. Our product stops all the infiltration with the liner installation. That's a bottom disc that he's going to put in the bottom, and he'll overlap it a little bit, and it'll go through the invert channel and back up. And then the liner, once it drops in and inflates, it's about 8 inches longer than the bottom of the floor. So all those pieces are overlapped double and triple layers. But anyway, when you put this in, you're through. This is going to bond to the host structure. Just to give you an idea, this is the fabrics, and you've got a non-porous skin sandwiched between the structural layers. That's felt fibers embedded into both sides of a solid piece of nylon reinforced vinyl. So when you put this in and inflate it, we'll put about 500 pounds. We're going to put a hell of a lot of pressure in that hole. It's going to push that liner into every crack and crevice inside there. That's going to, when that molds inside there, then the membrane, if you have active infiltration, the membrane in the middle, when you pressurize it, will add enough pressure to stop any active infiltration. Our main equipment here will go up to like 15 psi, which is about 10 meters deep. We could stop it just with our air pressure, up to about 10 meters deep. But again, we'll fill them with water if we have to, and then heat the water if they're they're 30 meters deep or something like that. So we stop all of it, so we don't have to stop the infiltration before we install the liner. All we'll do is go down and like chemical grout or something around, you know, this far, 6 or 8 inches around a pipe opening or something where you may have infiltration. We'll stop it right where the liner's going to end. Where we're going to cut out. We usually use the inside of the pipe as our guide. We'll take reciprocal saws and cut the channels back out when we're through. And in this case, we're going to line the invert channel itself. And but the resin will bond to wet or dry surfaces. And like I said, we've got 97 different patent claims granted on the product and the technology. And Ryan is, my son is that other tall dude. He's in the hole, he's laying that bottom disc down. And it'll lay down and turn up around the edge a few inches. And then the liner, once it inflates, it's still laying out on the bench some. So all that where your most critical area is of maybe an old brick structure that the mortar joints are eating away, but water could trickle down the mortar joints. It gets down the bottom, it still can't come out onto the floor or go back in the pipe. A good illustration I could give you, it's like taking a, well, we're from America, a Coke bottle. If you took it and filled a bathtub full of water and you put it butt first down in the water can't get in the Coke bottle, right? So this is the same. Water cannot come anywhere that liner is. So that way you've stopped all your infiltration and you put in something that'll last. It's been certified by, we took all our testing from different labs, independent labs, and Mays, Zenith, and Ethard, the big engineering firm in Atlanta, gave it, City of Atlanta, they hired them to study us. The City of Atlanta hired Mays, Zenith, and Ethard to study our product and all the test data, and they gave them back a certification letter that our product should have a useful life in the sewer of 100 years. And like I say, so far, in 29 years was September, so I'm on my 30th year. I've never had a failure yet so far. Part of the liner comes out of the hole, at least where that little line is there. It hooks onto that. That's a aluminum inflation canister. They will strap that liner on. There'll be about a foot of it coming out of the ground, and they'll lower it into place and inflate it. Once they get it inflated like they want it, you have a light shining down in there, and there's an inspection glass. They can look in and just see what the bladder's doing, see everything about it inside the hole, and then they will then inject the steam. It'll take about this is a little hole. It's not, I mean, you could probably see my head sticking out the top, pop my head at least, if I was down in there. It's only about 2 meters deep. It'll cure out in about 40 minutes or something. If it was 10 meters deep, it'd take maybe an hour and 15 minutes. So it wouldn't take very long, even if it was deep. In that case, these drop hoses, we put on deep structures, we put drop hoses on so your steam heat is injected right a few feet off the bottom, and the heat's going to rise and it cures all at the same time. I wanted to talk a little bit about pressure, because we had some people the other day misunderstood our gauges for your gauges instead of the ones I sent here from Florida with Fahrenheit and so forth on them. We're going to heat it to about 80 to 90 degrees Celsius, and that's enough that makes it cure in about 45 minutes. But they're massaging this liner. We will get the resin massaged through it, and then we have to resock it because you got the non-porous membrane, so they're saturating the fiberglass on one side, they have to saturate the other. If the liner is long, like 30 feet or something, even those the other night were 12 feet deep, we put a zipper in them, so we just unzip them, and the zipper laps over, so it's totally encased in the fiberglass when we get through. Just use a brass zipper. But here we're just going to just pull the part right back to us. With little short liners, there's no sense in going all the trouble and expense of putting zippers in them and all the rest. So your cost is that you paid a little more for a liner because this is about 3 times the amount of resin that the spray-on coating guys use for their resin, but you're getting all the structural fiberglass. So you're getting a lot of quality of product, but you don't have much time. We'll take that 15-meter hole. We're going to do 1 or 2 of those a day with a truck with 3 or 4 guys. So it's quick to do and it's permanent. It's the only product that you can put in and have a 20-year unlimited warranty on and basically have it for 100 years. All right, we just want to make sure everybody realizes that we don't matter about water. So I told them, just turn on a water faucet and wet the thing down, soak it down, and then that little white pipe over there, PVC pipe, it goes all the way into the corbel part of the manhole. And they're going to stick the water hose in there and just let it be pouring in there the whole time we're dropping the liner and curing it. But it'll finally, as soon as we get it really under pressure, the water's going to quit running because the pressure going to stop the water hose from pushing water in there. And then it'll push all the water out of the bottom. So when you get through, you'll have a finished product that had, not only did we soak it before we put the liner in, we let water run into the thing the whole time. And by the way, strength-wise, let me just tell you one quick thing. This material, if you took, this liner's, again, I don't know the millimeters, about 3/16 of an inch, quarter of an inch thick. If you took a piece of rebar, like you do for rebar for concrete, if you could take a piece of rebar and beat it into a flat sheet, the same thickness of my liner, then you're almost exactly the exact same strength. So you've put something that strong in there and you've bonded it to the hose structure, so you get whatever strength left of the hose structure, and you've made it out of something that won't deteriorate in the sewer. So that's, in a common sense way of looking at it, that's what you've done. You're putting a sheet of rebar material that thick, bonded but never will deteriorate. So that's how you are. What we do is we have there's a golf ball dead center in the middle of that inflation bladder. And that's a 2,500 pound test strap that's tied to that golf ball. It comes out the top. So they'll pull that inflation bladder out and then just accordion fold it back down in there. And then when they inflate, as it builds pressure, they will begin to release that golf ball that's took to that liner. And that way it'll just squeegee down the wall. And then it'll take any infiltration you got, anything you got, just gets pushed out of the way, all the way to the bottom. And that way your wall and everything will be completely smooth and slick, be like an onion skin when they finish. What he's doing now is just putting the lid back on. He's got a light there that as he inflates now, Jeremy will watch that bladder unfold itself down. There's a light in the canister, that gray tube that's about this tall. That's a light that's flooding down into the bottom. Then he's got an inspection plate glass on the other side, so he can look down in there, and as that thing's inflating, he can watch it squeegee down. When they get through and they get this up, you can get where you can go by and take a look in there if you want to before they put steam in. Once they put the steam, you can't see in the structure anymore. I usually use, in our business, we use a resonator, like a glass pack muffler about this long, tube about that big around, put a pipe in it and just screw it on there. But isn't that a lot better? You're in a neighborhood street, we put a muffler on there, quiet it down, so that we're going to be, timing is very important a lot of times. We'll come into, let's say, a major 4-lane intersection, manholes in the middle of a street light or cul-de-sac or whatever. We could come in there at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. By 3 or 4 or 5 a.m., we're gone. Almost nobody know we came. And so the advantage of this being quick to do is very, very important. When I looked at doing it, I wanted something that was economical from a cost-effective standpoint and permanent. You had to make it where it's permanent, so I don't have to go back and redo it again some other time, and the quick to accomplish. And so we've got all of that, economical and quick to accomplish and permanent, all in one product. And it makes a world of difference. We go into a neighborhood, they almost don't know we're even there a lot of times.
So I'm going to be cutting this out, guys. Now, we're going to be putting the ventilator down there first. It is quite hot down there, so there's no VOCs, no gases that will set off gas detectors or are harmful, but it is about, a sauna down there. So we're going to put the ventilation in there, let it ventilate for a while, and then we're going to cut it off. So what I'll do is I'm going to cut the liner about up here, and then I'm going to release the inflation bladder from the liner itself. I'm then going to attach myself to this harness and lower myself down, using my body weight to strip the liner from the bladder, from the liner.
We're not going to do it today, but usually in the streets where we're working, they'll just cut that liner off the same place that the lid sits in the frame. They just put an offset grinder on there and come around and saw that whole top of that liner out, take it off, and they'll just go ahead and spray the ring black. Then we'll start stripping down the bladder. So you got a yellow liner against a black ring and cover. Makes a pretty nice look. We call it curb appeal. Where the lid sits in the ring and cover, that's what we use as our guide to saw that liner out. Then you just slide the lid back on. So your frame and cover all the way down to your invert channel is all one monolithic cure.
So if your responsibilities include manhole rehab and you're looking to fix sewers that you have to realize there's 3 choices that you have to make. You can go with a low price, you can go with a high price, or you can go down the middle. So what we offer is down the middle. So with a low price fix, you can use the spray-on coating. Within 5 years, 7 years, it's going to start to deteriorate. It's going to fix the problem temporarily, but you're going to have to come back and do it every 5 years. The high price would be to dig and replace. So you can stop traffic for days on end. You can dig the ground up. You can place a whole new structure, and it'll begin to deteriorate over about 10 years. You're going to be in the same position you are there. But if you go down the middle, you choose a liner like this. Not only will we replace it, we'll put the liner within a couple hours, but you're left with a fix that lasts for the rest of your life. And it's much cheaper compared to replacing the structure entirely. It's a little more pricey than spraying on a coating, but you never have to deal with it again. So one thing that's different about what we're doing here is we're lining the chase. So some cities want us to do that. You know, depending on the location, they want the pipe lined. Typically, we'll let the sewage keep flowing like you were asking. We'll build a bridge that holds the pressure above the water so that the sewer keeps flowing underneath, and then we cut it out after it's cured, like he's doing now. But what we're doing here is we're going to line the invert. So this would be in a case where you did stop the sewage from flowing. You may put a plug down line, you may bypass pump, you may turn off the pumps, depending on the location. But when you get a chance to look down here, you'll see the liner is 100% covering everything, which is not always the case. It's typically where you'll see the trough, you'll see the chase open with sewage flowing after the liner's in place. Because the sewer gas doesn't eat where the liquid is. You see the gas is in the air, so it eats everything above the water. So you don't have to line the chase if you don't want to. Some people like to be just sure. What he's doing now is just cleaning up the edge, but you'll all get a chance to get over and look down. We're almost done. So this was about how long it takes in the street. So if you were going to stop traffic, you're looking at 2 hours, 2.5. But it's a lot less invasive than digging up the street and having to redirect traffic for days on end.
So it's all stripped out, the bladder's stripped out. When you guys come up, it's got a little bit of the bladder just down on the bottom chase, and there's a little bit of water in there. So when that boiler's going, it's a dry steam boiler. Once you lift the lid off, there's going to be about 2 to 3 litres of water left in that bladder that you pull out. It is a bit hot, so I didn't want to stick my fingers in it, so I've left that in there. There's a bit of a torn bladder. But you'll come up, have a look. I've sprayed the top, so we're going to make it look good. You'll be able to see the bond. You come up, touch it. I'll give this to Ron. I couldn't find anything smaller to hit it with. Now, guys, feel free to come up now, have a look at it. You got any questions? You want to take the bar to it? Feel free.